When it comes to technology, demography, geopolitics, and government policy, each bull market has its own set of themes that are distinct from the others. The emotional trajectory they follow, however, is the same for all of them, from fear to greed. The concept is identical to how every popular song is distinct, but follows the same overall structure in terms of progressions, chorus, and theme. During bull markets, companies with high values based on expectations for future performance and the size of the market tend to be the center of investors' attention. A good example of this right now is the EV sector. The Warren Buffett perspective on the electric vehicle industry will be discussed in today's video. How he was able to make billions in this industry. Finally, in the conclusion, Buffett highlights the setbacks that EV investors should be aware of. It's going to be a wild ride, so stay tuned. Welcome back to New Vehicle Media, your go-to channel for EV stock. Quick reminder that subscribing is free and liking the video helps YouTube suggest similar content. Comments are loved and featured in upcoming videos. With his calm and careful buy-and-hold approach, Warren Buffett is able to make a large number of successful investments, and it's becoming clear that he's up to his old tricks with electric automobiles once again. The wisdom of the sage of Omaha should be considered by investors pumping millions into the technology industry in order to understand its long-term prospects. Berkshire Hathaway is an American multinational conglomerate holding company owned by Warren Buffett. It has been a great year for the investment firm in BYD, one of China's oldest manufacturers of automobiles and automotive batteries. Buffett has been a supporter of BYD for more than a decade, and he now owns almost 22% of the Hong Kong-listed business, which has a market valuation of more than 915.6 billion Hong Kong dollars or 117.6 billion US dollars. That's more than the new generation Chinese car maker NIO, which is publicly traded in New York and is also a favorite among investors. So how does this differ from the rest of the EV world, which continues to grow at an exponential rate? BYD is more than simply another upstart vying for global attention. It is coming closer to perfecting the proper technology for electric vehicle batteries, the heart of the electric vehicle that accounts for about half of the cost and is critical to mainstream adoption of electric vehicles. And that's exactly what Berkshire Hathaway has focused on. Longtime Buffett colleague Charlie Munger had recognized the brilliance of Wang Chuanfu, the chemist and researcher behind the Chinese manufacturer, which resulted in Berkshire Hathaway purchasing a 10% share in the firm for around $230 million in 2008. What a foreboding prediction it turned out to be. Because Wang is familiar with batteries, he knows that getting the chemistry just right will decide how well automobiles outfitted with these powertrains perform and can operate in the future. In a time of recalls and battery fires, it has given his firm a competitive advantage over the competition. BYD EVs lack the technological coolness of next-gen vehicles such as the Tesla Model X or the Lucid Air. However, it comes at an affordable price and uses safe battery technology. It has surpassed the competition in mainland China to become the country's biggest EV manufacturer, selling more vehicles than its competition. BYD has ramped up its efforts to produce inexpensive batteries on a large scale and has placed its faith in technology to accomplish this aim. Announcing its intention to abandon nickel-cobalt-manganese batteries in its 2020 annual results, the business said that it will follow the lead of the majority of automobile and battery manufacturers. When it comes to its Blade battery, the Chinese manufacturer has focused mostly on so-called lithium iron phosphate, or LFPs. The company is the second largest battery manufacturer in China, behind contemporary Amperex Technology Limited, with over 15% of the market share. According to Goldman Sachs, BYD's battery supplies, both for internal use and for external sales, might account for 30% of total industry use. BYD's secondary public offering. BYD is soliciting funds to support its expansion programs. The $1.8 billion transaction sparked a sell-off of its stock in international markets. Following the company's statement on Friday, October 9th, the shares of BYD fell by 1.7%. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong was down 0.7%, while the S&P 500 was down 0.3%. The Shenzhen-based electric car producer plans to offer a secondary public offering of around 50 million additional shares at 273.5 to 279.5 Hong Kong dollars apiece. That would indicate a discount of 5.8% to 7.8% from its closing price on October 9th. Despite an early negative trend, the stock has re-established an upward trend and is now blazing. Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has made a $2 billion profit on its BYD shares this year, increasing the value of its stake in the Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer to about $8 billion, a 3,400% return on its investment in under 13 years. That's a hefty return. A total of 225 million shares of BYD were purchased by Warren Buffett's business for $232 million in 2008. According to Berkshire's most recent annual report, the company's share was worth $5.9 billion at the end of last year. Meanwhile, the company's stock price has increased even more by around 23% since then, increasing the value of Berkshire Hathaway's approximately 8% holding to $7.9 billion. The conclusion: BYD has been praised by Charlie Munger, Buffett's business partner and Berkshire vice chairman, ever since he first brought it to Buffett's notice. However, the EV sectors look like they're in a bubble, and the bubble that currently exists in the EV sector is likely to play out in a manner similar to prior industrial bubbles. The entire EV industry will increase, but just a small number of businesses will most likely emerge as winners in the long run. There are numerous parallels between this bubble and other bubbles in that there is a large amount of fresh entries that are being absorbed at high prices. Many of these startups are still in the early stages of product development or do not have considerable manufacturing capacity yet. Typically, these sorts of firms can only go public in a booming market environment. Many of these businesses will likewise fail, since growing production, boosting distribution, and becoming profitable are all tough tasks. All of these are challenging jobs that corporations, even those with billions of dollars in the bank and decades of expertise, consistently fail to do. In light of this crucial lesson from the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett warns EV investors to pay attention. While there is no doubt that the electric vehicle sector will continue to develop at an astonishing rate, it is possible that many of the EV firms with sky-high values today will no longer exist within a decade. So what are your thoughts? EVs, according to the experts, are the way of the future when it comes to transportation. However, do you believe that EV is a difficult investment to undertake in light of the fact that some analysts believe it is in a bubble? Let us know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Alfred says that China and Tesla will control more than 90% of the worldwide EV sector and supply chain. They will have a difficult time coming up to scale with the rest of the team. That should wrap things up for today. Keep in mind that subscribing is still free and liking helps YouTube recognize your preferences. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.